I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're speaking with author Bruce Fraizer about his amazing book called Strapped. He masterfully weaves a high-octane tale of love, danger, and vengeance set against the gritty backdrop of East New York, Brooklyn. His electrifying prose plunges readers into the heart-pounding journey of a determined man as he transforms into a one-man army. He goes head to head against an elusive drug dealer and sets out to save the woman he loves. We're delighted to have Bruce in the spotlight today. We thank the folks at Atticus Publishing for helping us put him in the spotlight today. And we ask viewers like you to support writers like him by subscribing to our channel. Bruce, thanks so much for being our guest today.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Loved your book. Obviously, you're a man who knows Brooklyn very, very well. I guess it's your hometown, right?
That is correct, yes.
And I know as a news reporter for many years in New York City that one of the toughest neighborhoods in New York is East New York, right?
That is correct.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess that's why you choose to set the story in East New York, right?
That is correct, yes.
Tell the folks at home a little bit what Strapped is all about.
Well, Strapped is an action-adventure fictional book and is based on two people trying to save money so that they can move out of the neighborhood to a better place. Unfortunately, his fiancée is viciously taken from the home and he becomes a one-man army, and he is now faced with
He basically goes out to challenge these people who have taken
yes,
his loved one,
yes,
right?
yes. He's faced to deal with a notorious drug lord who is also known as a ghost. And apparently their worlds are turned upside down, and as they change and go into different directions, all hell breaks loose.
Yeah, yeah. It's quite an amazing story. It's quite an adventure. It seems like a movie waiting to happen as I read it. Have you envisioned this as a movie at all?
To be honest with you, I have, and I so honestly prayed about it since I started to write it. And I just imagined my own self as I was writing the story, envisioned me in it as one of the characters. And it was so vivid that as I was continuing to format the story, everything just gelled so like evenly and so like perfectly, and it was easier for me to complete the book.
Yeah, I can see that. I think you really threw yourself into it. It shows your imagination, it shows your heart, it shows your determination. And when you're writing that book, you're kind of living in that world, don't you think?
That is correct, yes. You can
Yeah,
actually put yourself in it as you're reading it.
yeah, absolutely. Okay, so you would be in the movie. Would you be the star or would you be one of the supporting characters?
Be honest with you, I would like to be one of the stars, or maybe one of the supporting actors, or maybe directing it. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. All you need is a vision. You've already got the story, and it's your story that you're telling in part because comes out of your head. Is it based in any part on real life?
Yes, it is. Because back in the early 70s, East New York was very, very much dilapidated. As they would say, like in the Bronx, you have this part of the Bronx called Fort Apache, the Bronx. That was like one of the worst places that you could be, because all the buildings were torn down and you had all these bricks and empty lots and all this other stuff. And everything was like torn up. And they actually did film quite some movies in that location.
Yeah. Yeah, the in Fort Apache, the Bronx, I think with Paul Newman was a huge movie back in the early 80s or late 70s. The East New York neighborhood, I remember there used to be a bunch of neighborhoods that were very, very scary that you were afraid to go because there's so much crime. East New York was one of them. Bed-Stuy was another.
And
But there's been a
Brownsville.
gentrification. There's been a renaissance for New York City. It's a lot better than it was back in the late 70s, early 80s, don't you think?
Yes,
A lot safer. And love him or hate him, Rudy Giuliani kind of turned things around a lot for the city, I guess. Do you agree?
I agree. Yes, he did. He did.
Yeah, he was a good mayor. Um,
Especially for the crime part.
yeah, exactly. He might have gotten too heavy-handed after a while, but the city was out of control and needed reining in, that's for sure. So this is an exciting tale. When did you write it? How long did it take you to write it?
I wrote that. I started writing that book in 2011, and I had got sideswiped, with everyday life, and I had to put it aside. But I then came back to it 2 years ago, and I kind of finished it because I had to set my sights on it because a lot of my friends were just seeing the abstract of the theme. And when they would read it, they would tell me that this is great. You got to finish this. I would love to see the finished product.
Yeah.
So I sat down, I put my head together, and I said, I got to get this done. And that's what I did.
Well, we're glad you did. I'm very glad you did. When you finally finished it, who was the person you first gave the book to and said, "Hey, what do you think of this?"
I actually gave it to my fiance.
Okay, great. And what was her reaction?
She loved it. She said that that was one of my best works ever.
Awesome. Have you written other books?
Yes, I have two other books. One is called Visions of Thought. The other book is called Telling It Like It Is. And just to give you a brief synopsis on those two books, Visions of Thoughts is about relationships and how people deal with each other on a day-to-day basis. And the Telling It Like It is a wide range, um, a wide range of different types of events that have taken place in real time. And what I did was I transformed them into poetry.
Hmm.
And a lot of times, a lot of people who don't want to hear the truth get upset because the truth has to be told.
Yeah.
And that's how I named the title Telling It Like It Is, whether they want to hear it or not.
Wonderful. That's very cool. Tell me a little bit about your life. When did you start writing? When did you realize you wanted to be a writer? When do you find time to write? That kind of stuff.
Well, as early as a little kid back in the day when I was quite young, I found a passion for writing, but didn't do anything with the stuff that I wrote.
Hmm.
I would write down little tidbits and put them in my drawer, leave them in there. And, when you have other things in your drawer, like your clothes, I threw all these papers in there and they got all crushed up. And it's just people in my circle and family members, they would see me do this and they asked me if I can rewrite the stuff that I did and then put them into a book form. I didn't know how to do that. And also, what inspired me as a young teen was that I was getting a lot of influence from the late Langston Hughes, who also started writing at an early age as well. I don't know if he did the same thing I did, probably not, but he started at an early age. And I got so fascinated by his work, and I was able to grasp all the nice thoughts that he put down. And then I would get my thoughts and put them down. And I was able to have a vivid imagination, as everybody tells me now.
That's wonderful. Well, you know what? Starting as a writer as a child, I think is important because I think it helps you hold on to that child within you. Because by the time kids get out of school, all of the creativity, all of the imagination, all of the wonder is disciplined out of them. They have to obey the rules, answer the questions, stay silent. And, you know, it might work when you have 30, 40 kids to educate, but as an individual, I think preserving that child, that wild spark is so important.
I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Are you working on anything else?
I have other books in the works. I have actually 10 other books that I'm working on. And what's so fascinating about what I do is I can work on all 10 simultaneously at different times of the day. I work on this book, then I'll put that aside, go on to the next one, work on that one, bring the other one back, go to the fourth one, fifth one. So I'm working on 10 other books, and hopefully I'll have my library set.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, to keep your train of thought and your focus on those different books and able to switch channels within your brain to go from one book to the next to the next, that's quite incredible.
And also, I have a genre that I don't just write about just one particular subject. I write about anything and everything.
Hmm.
You name it, I can write about it.
That's very, very cool. That's very, very cool. Now, in your life during your career, did you work as a writer or did you do something else to pay the bills and writing was a side passion?
I worked at a utility company,
Mhm.
currently retired from there, and I have always been writing since I was in school, working, and also doing other things around the house when I was at home with my parents and everything.
Mhm.
But I never stopped. I just never stopped. And what's so unique about what I've done is I would go to work, and on my lunch break, I would take out my pen, and I would go to the cafeteria and start writing.
Wonderful. Wonderful. That's very cool. I'm glad you have such a passion for writing. It shows in your work. Strapped is an amazing book, folks. It is a high octane tale of love, danger, intrigue, deception, vengeance, and it is set in what is one of the most storied areas of New York City, East New York, Brooklyn. It is written by Bruce Fraizer, and we are delighted to have him here today on Spotlight. Bruce, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Oh, the pleasure is all mine. And to the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time, this time until next time on Spotlight.